What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Few. My name is Stone. That's Mason and Paul. We are the Fantasy Few as usual. And before we get into today's start sit video, I'm going to tell you to like the video. It's a very good one. Comment down below who you are going to
Like
start
it.
sit. This is for your
Comment.
fantasy championships and for DFS start sits. Anybody that you need to do, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this. We make videos each and every single day, and trust me, our videos, they're fantastic. So hitting that big red button down there at the bottom of the screen, that's the smartest thing you could ever do. So go ahead and do it. And without
Yeah.
further ado, we're gonna jump right into our starts of this week, and we're gonna start off with maybe the easiest quarterback to make the start of all time in fantasy football history. We got Josh Allen playing against Atlanta's defense. That's all I have to say. He's top 300 yards and 30 fantasy points 2 of the last 3 games with 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Atlanta's got they've got one good cornerback, and that's really about it. So I think Josh Allen, he's gonna run all over him. He's gonna pass all over him. He's gonna have touchdowns. I think the Bills are very, very easily gonna handle business against the Atlanta team, and Atlanta's gonna get knocked from the playoffs this week.
Yeah, that's totally fair because they are still just potentially alive. I'm getting into the running back. My pick is David Montgomery. No, this is not because I'm a Bears fan,
Yeah, it is,
but
you liar.
it's really not. It's based off his production. He's seeing a lot of volume in the offense, within the offense. You've seen it. Had I think 4 or 5, maybe 7 catches over the course of the Seattle game. And that's part of his offense. Like that's what he brings to the table is receptions. Goes up against the Giants. They're 25th against the run. In the last 4 games, he has 70 carries, 137 yards. That's not ideal. Last game against a pretty stout front four for Seattle, he only carried the ball for like I think 2.2 yards. That's not good. But overall, like I said, I'm not trying to make the case against him. I'm just saying that was an outlier of a game because the past 3 games before that, he was up in the 4 point something yards per carry. He has had 2 touchdowns, but again, like I said, his receiving is where he picks up, and that's 26 catches for 174 yards, and he's top 23 fantasy points twice in that span. I
That's
think
awesome.
this is kind of a no-brain pick against the Giants. They haven't been playing well. You've seen them just get blown out against Philadelphia last week, and so that's why I'm picking David Montgomery.
And you know who else is a no-brain pick? I think we've been talking about this guy for 5 straight weeks now, and we just can't get his name out of our mouths because this was our fantasy feud guaranteed player to blow up at the second half of the season. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown. We're guaranteeing you should start him again. He's playing against Seattle. He's got Jared Goff back, so the stability at the quarterback position is back for St. Brown, who's posted back-to-back 23 fantasy points and 3 of the last 4 weeks in a stretch that
Whoa.
includes 3 touchdowns, no less than 73 yards, and 8 catches. Guy's been in an absolute tear. I mean, ever since we made that video of the waiver wire pickups, and said Amon-Ra St. Brown, the dude's been absolute money. I don't know. That just might mean that we know what we're talking about. I'm not 100% sure. But I think, once again, we're going to say to start Amon-Ra. He's been so hot. I think if you've been riding him in the playoffs, continue riding him in the Super Bowl. He's going to help you get 23 points again.
Weird way of
He's
saying
just
it.
so good, man.
If you guys have paid attention to previous episodes, I'm talking way back. You might have heard me refer to this guy as Brittle Kittle. Say that no more. George Kittle has been on a monster tear since he's been back and healthy. In week 13 and 14, he destroyed it. But the last 2 weeks against Atlanta and Tennessee, he's only had 114 yards. That's only equated to 19 fantasy. It's not looking great. But do not sleep on this guy this week. He's playing against Houston. They're ranked 25th against a tight end. George Kittle should have a monster game. If San Francisco has learned anything over the last week, it's do not take Houston lightly. If they paid attention, the Chargers should dog walk them. If the 49ers do not come in and throw the ball to Kittle 20 times, they are losing this week. I'm just kidding, but they need to give him the freaking okay. That's all I said. Just start George Kittle, put him in your
Give
DFS wherever you need to.
You got to give Kittle and Debo the ball if you're gonna win that game pretty handily.
Sorry,
I think
Debo
Sure.
too.
you got to put Debo at running back, put Kittle at the tight end
Wide
position. You guys should
receiver.
be good to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our last start, and that would be our defense. Who wants to talk about that?
I'll pick it up. So I'm on the fence about picking defenses, and that's simply because last week I suggested sitting Miami, and they put up 30 fantasy points. So
Yeah, good.
take this with a grain of salt to start with. But this week they're coming off a 2-game losing streak, and that's the New England Patriots. You get rookie quarterback Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, 32nd overall offense. Um, and their losing streak consisted of Indianapolis and Buffalo, two very solid teams. Now they get a 2-13 Jacksonville team. And on top of that, they just lost James Robinson for the year. So I think this is just giving me one of those vintage games where we see the Patriots kind of pick up after a loss, and I think they're going to kind of mud stomp Jacksonville, probably to the tune of 2 to 3 interceptions. I know they'll get a couple sacks, and I think it's going to be a very low scoring game for Jacksonville.
I I am so sad to see James Robinson go down, man. He's from the area that we live in, and I just absolutely love the guy. So he what I mean is from the area. He played college at Illinois State University. We're from that area, so represent
Heck
the
yeah.
area. And I want to
But
say New England's defense. I think it's definitely common to see them on Super Bowl championship teams like pretty much every year except last year. And I think New England's defense is always slept on, and they always end up being this really good defense for fantasy. And this now you're at Super Bowl weekend against a 2-13 team, like they might win you another championship this year. Who knows? Let's move on to our sit section of the video now. I'm going to start off with Kyler Murray. Yes, we said to sit him last week, and he really wasn't that great last week. And we're going to say to sit him again. He's playing against Dallas's defense, who has been pretty good this year, like very good this year, like Micah Parsons, and then Trayvon Diggs gets the ball thrown to him every single play. And then, so he's had 2 touchdowns, 3 picks in the last 3 games, under 300 yards passing in the past 2 games. He's had 8 carries for 77 yards. 56 of that came on one of those runs. So, yeah, Arizona's been really bad as of recent, and I think Kyler Murray is just, I wouldn't say he's the reason why they've been bad, but I want to say
the whole team is just
without DeAndre Hopkins, you're seeing a noticeable decline in that offense right now because D-Hop meant so much to that offense. He draws the double teams. He is so incredibly talented. It opens up everybody else on the offense. Without D-Hop, defenses don't have to focus in on one receiver anymore. They don't have another receiver that's that ultra talented. AJ Green, yeah, he's good. Christian Kirk, yeah, he's good. Rondé Moore, yeah, he's good. Zach Ertz, yeah, he's good. But they're not elite like DeAndre Hopkins. You don't have to put 2 guys on them. So Kyler Murray not getting those guys as wide open as he did in the past. So I think it's just a good defense to play against. I'd say sit Kyler Murray this week. I think it's a tough play. Even though he's supposed to be the superstar MVP candidate, I think it's just if you have him on your team, how do you start him at this point the way he's been playing?
And I think that's kind of a segue into the running back position that we have set up, and that's Michael Carter
I
going
think
up
you mean
against
Michael
Tampa Bay.
Farter.
um, he's going up against Tampa Bay. They're
Don't
ranked
get that.
8th in the rush.
He's been
But
horrible, so he's just a fart. Michael
his last
Farter.
2 games since returning from injury, he's had very mixed results. Against Miami, he had 8 carries, 18 yards, 1 reception for 2 yards, 3 fantasy points overall. That's horrendous. That's first round of the playoff stuff, so that might have lost you games. And then going into last week against Jacksonville, he had 16 carries, 118 yards, receptions for 6 yards, 14 fantasy points. I mean, that helps. That's great. That might have, if you were able to squeak by the first round, that might have helped you win the second round. That's not something to rely on against Tampa Bay. There's not many teams that can go out and make any type of headway when it comes to fantasy points against this defense. I think sit him, and there. I mean, you can't change my mind on it. I'm actually sitting him in a league, and so yeah, that's just kind of where I stand on it.
It's pretty simple. I mean, Tampa Bay's defense is so stout, and then with the Jets' struggling offense, I don't think you can really rely on Michael Carter to do much because he hasn't been too involved in the pass game. That's where he would get his stats, and he's only had 2 catches in the last 2 games. Or 3 catches, sorry. We'll move on to the receiver position next. Who wants to take that one on?
I will go ahead and pick up the slack on Marquise Hollywood Brown. Not so Hollywood the past few games. 3 of the last 4, he hasn't had more than 5 catches. And in the game where he did have 5 catches, he had or more than 5 catches. He had 10 catches, but it only resulted in 43 yards. He's averaging 10.5 points over that. Why are his stats so down during this time? Well, Lamar Jackson hasn't been playing all year. When Lamar Jackson was playing, he was doing better. Oh, but Lamar Jackson's supposed to come back. Well, don't be so excited about that because they are playing the Rams. The Rams have came on. They are playing lights out. I believe they will probably shut down the Ravens. Not shut them down. The Ravens are going to do anything they can to win. And what do the Ravens do when they win? They run the ball. I'm not looking for Marquise Brown to get a heck of a lot more than 10 points. If you're starting Hollywood Brown in hopes of him winning you the game, don't. He might be able to get you 10 this week, but don't look anything too outside of that. What do you guys have anything else to say on that? I think that's pretty much wraps that one up right there.
Yeah, it's pretty simple with Hollywood. Without Lamar, it's just been kind of a downhill spiral for him, and I don't think it's going to pick up at all against the Rams defense.
Yeah. No, I mean, Lamar's supposed to come back, right? Am I right on that?
Yeah, I believe he is.
Yeah.
I
don't.
was gonna say I haven't heard much about it. I know that Tyler Huntley was out with COVID, so I don't know if that kind of deters the plans, and they might try to rush Lamar back at that point. But like you said, there's nobody on this team I think deserves an overall start other than Mark Andrews. He's the only one.
100% agreed on that. He is the guy that will get you. Talking about tight end, let's move in. We're going to tell you guys to sit Mike Gesicki, okay? While he had a great first half of the year, he hasn't recorded more than 50 yards in the past 6 games against defenses that just aren't playing good against a tight end. He also has had 0 touchdowns in the last 8 games. Guys, Mike Gesicki, they're playing Tennessee. That's like a tough defense to play against anyways. You might be like, I wasn't going to start him anyways. Well, if you were thinking about starting this guy, don't. I don't think he has any upside this week. Go ahead and sit Mike Gesicki.
We've been kind of broken records with him and Kyler Murray now for the last couple of weeks, saying to sit him.
Yeah,
I don't think Mike Gesicki's worth a start in your fantasy teams at all. If you have other options, like even like flyer guys like CJ Uzomah could probably do better than him this week, in my opinion. So go find a flyer, or if you have another tight end that's worth starting, definitely choose him over Mike.
Or
Gesicki.
ask us.
Or ask us if you have questions about it. We'll definitely answer them for you. But we're gonna move on to our last player/defense of the sits, and that would be Indianapolis. So this one's going to sound kind of confusing because Indy's been on such a historic tear. They're playing against the Raiders, who have been down, but they beat the Broncos last week somehow. So why are we picking Indy? Well, originally we had Indy picked because people like Darius Leonard were on the COVID IR, but now they are not, and their defense is looking pretty healthy for the game. However, the Vegas Raiders offense is still kind of flowing pretty decently. They still got good pieces on that offense to be able to put up points against Indy. And Indy's got to come to like kind of a halt here soon, I would assume, right? Like they've been so hot on both sides of the ball. Something's got to give. I think Indy's still going to win this game, but I think Derek Carr is going to have close to a 300-yard game, maybe a couple touchdowns, and most of that's going to be going to Hunter Renfrow. I just think that the Raiders this week definitely can surprise people. They're still fighting for a playoff spot too, so they're not just gonna like fold over and like let Indy win this game. They're fighting for that spot that Indy pretty much holds right now. So don't be surprised when the Vegas Raiders come out and actually play a good game against this Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
Don't know if you guys have anything to say about that at all.
No, I think you pretty much said it right. Indy's tough, but Vegas is tough too. We've seen them contend some decent games this year. They can definitely throw the heck out of that football. Derek Carr.
Yep. All right, so that's all we got today. If you guys enjoyed the video, like it because it was a good video and you're still here, so why wouldn't you like it, right? Comment down below any questions you have of people that you're going to start sit, any DFS questions you might have of people that you're between the start and sit. If your championship roster with 2 tight ends, start sit, let us know anything that you have. Comment down below. We will answer it as soon as we see it. Subscribe to the channel because this is like you're still here. You're watching the video. It was a good video. I don't blame you for watching it. So subscribe to the channel so you can watch.
We're at 99.
Yeah, we need 100. We need that 100. So please, it would mean a lot to us. But since that's all we got here today, that's all we got here today. I'm gonna send things over to Mason. He's gonna break us out.
Fantasy Few out, baby. Let's go.